warm welcome to all the panelists as well as the audience. I know these are unprecedented times. These are times where, none of us really have the experience of how to navigate so much of uncertainty that's been around us. So when you're, in a way, again, taking the analogy of the auto industry, when your rear view camera is broken and when all the sensors are not giving you any feedback and there is dense fog outside, the industry is braving to open its doors and hopefully drive in the fast lane if possible. Last time we spoke to some of the leaders of the passenger car industry. Today I'm connecting with again some of the luminaries of the two-wheeler industry to really understand where are we headed, where is it that what does the future hold. Two-wheeler industry, as many of you would know, in India is one of the biggest in the world, just behind China. Frankly speaking, there are, numbers which say that India is the biggest in some ways, but frankly speaking, yeah, it is clearly a monument, gigantic industry, both from the sales volume, the throughput requirements that are there, as well as the footprint that exists across this massive subcontinent, which is managed on a day-to-day basis by leaders like Mr. Guleria. Of course, Anuj, as you all know, is also somebody who has been very closely associated with the industry, and definitely would love to understand from Anuj how we can make insurance and F&I as a whole a core part of this recovery going forward. So before we start, I thought I would quickly share a quick deck with you all to kind of set the context of where what is it that we are looking at and what is the current reality of the market. So if you look at the two-wheeler sales trend, what I just kind of shared, looked at the last few months of data and compared the sales volume. This is from SIM, looked at the sales volume year over year. From a time 1 year ago when we were touching about 16 lakhs or 1.6 million, pretty comfortably month over month, we were already seeing pressure on the sales volume from January. The data that you see in blue is the January data. And it started to fall down. And of course, it hit a number of 0 in April. This is what we look at currently. For May, I don't have the data yet, but again, what I have heard from certain OEMs is the picture is, a very small percentage of sales have really happened as compared to what we saw last year. If you look at the India consumer and if you look at the India GDP growth rates over the last 3 years again, frankly speaking, the growth rates have been declining. And again, if you look at the projections forward, as you see in the bottom, this is, again, a picture which does not really create a huge sense of confidence. And of course, two-wheelers as an industry provides mobility to the country, is a core part of this overall growth story for any country and definitely for India. And that's when you see that the business confidence overall has also kind of headed south over the last several years. And especially when you look at consumer confidence, it has kind of plummeted at this point of time. Again, this is data till February. You are actually looking at a sharp decline in overall confidence, consumer confidence, as the data we get from Reserve Bank of India at this point of time. So with that, I would like to come to our esteemed panelists here. And I thought I would, open this up with you, Mr. Guleria. When you look at these data points, when you look at the reality of the business out there, are you worried?
I think, well, Mohit, the thing is that we all have been reading, listening, and seeing a lot of negativity around. And the purpose, I believe that one of the purpose of this webinar is to see from where we stand today, and while living and operating in the present, we need to look at the future. So the attributes of the Indian economy as well as the two-wheeler industry is that we are looking at something which is called the possessive ratio in terms of penetration of two-wheelers is very, very low. So fundamentally, as a market, it has still a lot of potential. What has gone into last couple of years in terms of more infrastructure development, in terms of roads going to the last mile, still a lot of villages are yet to be connected by a tar road or motorable road, if I have to say, to the mainstream India or to the nearest tehsil level or taluka level, as we call it in India. So those are the fundamentals which of the demand, where we believe that in the long term, this country has a huge potential for the growth of two-wheelers in years to come. Having said that, what we have to currently see where we are, definitely the industry for almost now 17 months has seen a negative growth. It was in a slowdown mode already. And when we entered this financial year, we were talking about the 20 in 20, a transformation into a new era of mobility that we call the BS6. From BS4, the two-wheeler is going to be BS6, but that too comes at a cost, which was anywhere in the range of 10% to 14%. And since the BS6 products already started coming in the market before the deadline of 31st of March, the price point, more or less, the range was fixed that it is going to be in the range of 10% to 14% additional cost to the two-wheeler buyers. With that, the forecast was again not very rosy for the financial year 21. FY21 was again projected to remain negative, may not be the same minus 18% which we saw in the FY20, but still it would be in the negative. That is what was the initial forecast, both which was done by the independent agencies or Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers. So, but COVID was nowhere there in the plan. So when this came, this just added to the headwind, and here this was sort of headwind which almost blocked the movement. When we talk about the other headwinds of the economy, at least you are still moving ahead against the winds. There is still a movement with a lot of resistance. But what happened in the COVID was entire lockdown, the jam of the activity, nothing is open. And that's what we face. And you just shown the graph that it has never been in the history of the auto industry that you see a zero figure in the dispatch numbers. So unfortunately, it made a different kind of history. But yes, when from lockdown, we moved on to the unlock 1.0 from the beginning of June month. By that time, the dealerships have started opening up because in the lockdown 3 itself, the government of India decided that in a calibrated way, some sort of non-essential services and economic activity need to start to move the nation ahead. And obviously, by taking all the means and norms of ensuring the safety. So with the respective guidelines which were put into place, all the manufacturers as well as our dealers, if I talk about my business only, they recalibrated their showroom layouts, workshop layouts, manufacturers also did, suppliers also did, even the logistic partner. At the back end, the supply chain, as well as in the front end, the dealers started reopening, meeting all the norms decided by the administration at the local level. And after the shops were open, the issue was how to get the customer back into that so-called auto business as a brick and mortar more and less of the digital. And then entered into an era of the auto business also. Now everybody is calling, and it's very normal, we call it phygital, now physical plus digital. So a lot of updation of technology done by the dealers, the manufacturers to connect and engage with their prospective buyers and the existing customers as well, and connect with them digitally and try to get their confidence back in visiting to the dealership as well to avail different set of services. For the existing customer, it was after sales service. For the intenders, okay, need to check on the product. If they have already done the searching and selection and shortlisting digitally, then come down to the showroom. Of course, the facilities of the delivery at home or test ride at home were also provided. And now with the beginning of June, almost 90% of the network is open for us in terms of providing the services to the customers. Now we are able to see there is the walk-in which is happening, footfall has started happening. And the good part is we also did our own dipstick, who has initially bought, even in this difficult time, who are the buyers, is there any change in the trend? And very positive to see that still the people who inquired, the intenders before the lockdown was announced, almost 45% of them are keen to buy within 1 month. And if I extend this period to 3 months, almost 80% of them are still keen to buy their product, their favorite two-wheeler, except those 20% who have changed their mind, as we all know, because of the purse getting tightened and then liquidity crunch and all. So this is a positive sign that there are people who started coming in, sales have started happening, inquiries have also gone up. Test side, obviously, it is down because we know the social distancing and the concern about the hygiene. The fear factor is very high, though the vehicles are being sanitized properly, but still there is a fear factor which is there. And one more thing in after sales area also, we observe that there are a new set of customers coming to the after sales area, they who have not visited the workshop in last 1 year. And what made them to come in is that assurance that they are coming in a safe environment of hygiene, safety, which probably they do not expect at unauthorized local workshop in their respective town. So this is one positive shoot in terms of the after sales area, which is very positive. Plus, in the new seller profile, those who have bought, that is also one good thing, that almost 1/3 of the customer, the one who are having or shown the propensity to buy a two-wheeler by moving away from the public transport, because again of the social distancing and the fear factor that it is not safe. So the new point of having a safe mobility on your personal two-wheeler is something new. How long it will be sustained, only time will tell, but certainly this is a new set of buyer who are moving away from the public transport and coming and looking for their own personal mobility. So that's what we are seeing currently as a trend. It is positive, but in the long run, it will still take more time because still not 100% dealerships are open. There are some places where it is odd and even. The number of hours of business are also restricted. So under these constraints in challenging ecosystem, this is what scenario we are currently operating in.
Very interesting. So, I mean, Mr. Guleria, then, you kind of very nicely put the whole picture, and of course, covering both the elements of the customer as well as the dealership. In terms of the overall recovery that you see for yourself going forward, how do you see the kind of recovery path? I know there are experts who have talked about, V-shaped recovery, U-shaped recovery, L-shaped recovery. I don't know what all shapes are there. How do you see the volumes ramping back across the entire network? I mean, you are the second largest manufacturer at this point of time, holding more than a quarter of the industry. How do you see the volumes ramping up in the months to come?
Yeah, thank you, Mohit, for your question. In here, what we see as of now from our dipstick at our network, the kind of inquiries which are coming in also. Currently, in our portfolio, we haven't changed much change in terms of the scooter buyer ratio and the motorcycle buyer ratio. We used to sell earlier also 67 to 68% of scooter, rest were our motorcycle portfolio. And the same has been the trend in the month of May. So as a largest two-wheeler seller in the country, we haven't seen any change in the trend so far. I know there are some analysts who are already putting in some number, but honestly, in Honda, we haven't seen any such change in terms of the buying preferences. In terms of now the urban or rural or the semi-urban, the way we would like to define the different demography in the India, in our country, what is very saddening because of the very high COVID cases in the western part of the country, Maharashtra and Gujarat. Both of them, Maharashtra tops the list of those positive cases, and it's a big concern, especially in the greater Mumbai market, which happens to be the financial capital of our country. And we are also as the number one maker in the western part of the country, and Greater Mumbai also, we have a much bigger number one in terms of market share. So demographically, if you see, the western part of the country is still not open fully. And this is a matter of concern in terms of even the inquiries, the footfalls. It is initially, it used to be like a ghost town. And now, even if you have opened because of the restriction or even odd kind of rules of opening up your showroom and the outlets, they are not at 100% operational level. So very difficult to evaluate the efficiency. So considering all these aspects, that sometimes there are local, there are local orders which are being issued by the administration to close down or restrict, sometimes the border entry and border close. We are not seeing 100% efficiency coming in at our network. Probably it is currently at the level of around 70%.
Right.
Those who have opened, they are operating. South region, while I have told you about the holistic thing, but South somehow we see is positive in terms of the retail sales momentum, in terms of after sales also. Some of our network are also reached their pre-lockdown kind of retails. So that's very positive in terms of the business coming in from the South and the feedback which we are getting from the southern region. But we are talking about the whole of, if we talk about the country as a whole, still we believe that we are long way, at least 6 months away, where we can reach to at least the level which we were seeing it pre-lockdown period.
Interesting. One of the big things, again, two other parts that we're talking about, the dealerships as well as the customers. I just wanted to ask you, again, looking as a dealer, I mean, I have been to some of the automotive, the two-wheeler dealerships. The throughputs are very large. There are lots of people lots of footfalls happening. People are moving around. I mean, again, social distancing is definitely not so easily implemented. And again, looking from a dealer principal perspective, there are so many things that the dealer principal already had to take care of, whether it was in terms of, getting the water supply in or getting the employees in. Now you have the additional complication of all of these social distancing norms, local requirements, as you talked about. From OEM perspective, what are you telling your dealerships how to manage this level of uncertainty and how really to engage with this customer going forward?
Well, in this, one thing is very clear. As a business partner, it's very important to keep each other encouraged, motivated, and having a very, very positive mind. And since we got these 60 plus days, this also allowed, along with the internet usage, it also allowed all of us an inner connect time. We got a time which was available to self, and we could introspect ourselves. So in one of the webinar, I was also talking about I tried to talk about the acronym of COVID, and I was saying that it is basically connecting opportunities, virtually introspected and discovered.
Wow.
So in this time, once we did the deep dive, we are basically trying to now I would not say trying to, we need to adapt and embrace this new norm. And I'm very happy to share with you that all of our dealers have, with a very proactive and positive mindset, they have come forward to put in place all these new norms. Some of them obviously comes at a cost, but getting the assurance back, not only of the customer, but first thing for them was to get the confidence of their own staff to come back to open the dealership. Right? So that was the most important point. So having done that, when they're initially 1/3 of the staff could report and they started coming in, they saw what the dealer owners have really done to ensure their safety in terms of the hygiene and all the norms which have been established. And then it was to get the first customer to avail their services. So once those customers also avail their services, we need not have to discount or have any gap area. There is no chance for in case of COVID that once a customer comes in, we leave any area where there are any gaps. So it is, like go and no go kind of thing. So please do not compromise on the safety aspects. And once the customers observed and experienced at our network, the positive word of mouth has started, floating around that I have visited, I have availed the services, and in case you don't want to go, the digital services also available to connect, whether in terms of buying, in terms of inquiring about the loan, via email or virtually. You can show the vehicle on camera, you can get it evaluated from the brokers, the two-wheeler brokers, or our best deal outlets who are dealing in the pre-owned vehicles. So getting the confidence back of all the stakeholders, including your customer, was the first step. So it was all about survival. And once everybody, and now also relook into all your expenses and your P&Ls, and please conserve the cash. That was also the second guideline from our side. It's very important that liquidity remains with us. And while we are doing the austerity measures, we need not forget that we should not be losing the connect with our customer. So this is the time to engage while there is a social distancing, but still there is a chance for us to engage with our customer, because that is the starting point in this funnel of sales to run our business and have that business continuity. So after survival, how do we revive the business as per the new normal? So this was the second step. Having done that, now we are saying that with the new product launches, because we have not put on hold any of our new product launches. The only delays happened because of the lockdown, but our team and R&D and suppliers and our production team are trying to squeeze in wherever possible to launch the products as early as possible, because any new product also brings in a lot of positivity at our network, like getting the springs back into the shoes of your salesman, because I have something new to sell, new to talk to the customer. So we should not be holding back, and we should be quickly coming up and try to offset that delay with the internal effort and endeavor. That's what we are trying to do. And also the staff of the dealership, we kept engaged through e-learning. So almost around 20,000 of our dealership salesmen are connected with us through this e-learning app. So we kept on giving them the new module, updated modules, so that they come to know what they are supposed to do. One is that keeping abreast with the things, and how to apply the new tools and new norms and engaging in a new way to the customer. So because it was a new ecosystem. So speed was another thing, speed and getting that license of new skill. So that was another thing which we ensured with our dealership, that we need to even change our model mix and the media mix to approach our customer and create new business.
That's very, very heartening to note, I think, Mr. Guleria. I would probably, bring in Anuj here. I know that, last time we talked about a lot of digital initiatives from HDFC ERGO going into, the passenger car space. How, important is the two-wheeler industry for HDFC ERGO? And, what is the kind of business that HDFC ERGO does currently in the two-wheeler industry at this point of time?
Sure. I'll actually take a step back, Mohit.
Sure.
Before I answer how important two-wheeler industry is for HDFC ERGO, let me also give you a perspective how important two-wheeler industry is for the general insurance,
Sure.
As a whole.
Right.
So, motor as a in totality is roughly about 36-37% of the general insurance market. Two-wheeler will, at least in my opinion, be 15% of this. So 15% of general insurance revenues of 89,000 crores come from two-wheelers. So to that extent, two-wheeler for the non-life industry is a very, very critical, is a very, very important, constituent. Equally for us, two-wheeler forms an important part of HDFC ERGO's business strategy. Past couple of years, we've been actually riding a a high growth as far as two-wheelers are concerned, and thanks to some of the partnerships that we've kind of forged in recent past, including the one with HMSI. So it's a very, very critical component of our own business strategy.
Mm.
It's also something which philosophically also very, very close to our heart, Mohit, in the organization, because this is one piece which actually also helps us, improve the awareness of insurance in the rural and semi-urban market, because that's where the large segment of two-wheeler customer sits. Two-wheeler forms a very critical portion of the industry strategy. Two-wheeler forms a very critical portion of HDFC ERGO strategy. And the chart that you showed and what Mr. Guleria spoke of, and a lot of what we all have read through so far, and what I said last time, and my favorite thing is insurance industry is a potpourri of various industries. Right. So if Mr. Guleria says that his business has taken a beating in the recent past, there is no way my business can stay aloof. So very clearly, we're also seeing those implications of what's happening around in the economy, what's happening around in the two-wheeler industry. We're also seeing those shades coming into our business. Yeah.
So again, looking at, the overall penetration of insurance in the market, I saw some data point yesterday. The penetration levels seem to be very low. Mr. Guleria talked about the penetration of two-wheelers, but within even the penetration of two-wheelers, the penetration of insurance seems to be further low. So in terms of the headroom that is available for growth, how are you, envisaging that? Again, I do understand that with two-wheelers, there is a massive footprint that is needed to really cover each and every customer effectively.
I missed the last part of your question, Mohit, but
yeah. So Anuj, the question basically was that, when you look at the headroom available, there seems to be a lot of headroom available for growth from an insurance perspective, because the penetration of insurance seems to be very low at this point of time amongst two-wheeler owners. So given the fact that there is a huge challenge of covering the base, which is, so dispersed in the country, how does HDFC ERGO, want to leverage digital tools or digitization to really go about, ensuring that if not all, at least most customers are insured?
Sure. So Mohit, yes, two-wheeler has very, very low penetration levels in the country. I mean, our estimates would say less than 50% of the two-wheelers are insured even today on the road. The distribution challenge is, I would say distribution challenge was there at some point in time, but now distribution challenge for insurance companies has been addressed to a large extent. And I would say the fraternity which is present on the webinar there is one of the key distributors now. I mean, the dealership through MISP, Motor Insurance Service Program, have become a very, very large distributor of two-wheelers. So frankly, Mohit, I would say that distribution today is a challenge, because if wherever and in whichever way a two-wheeler can be sold, insurance can actually figure right on the same platform. The channel has become so important that it's now a regulated channel. I mean, the eyes of the regulator, in the eyes of the industry, the channel is so prominent and so important that it has come in the realm of the regulatory norms, because insurance is a regulated product.
Right.
So distribution part has been addressed, and then there are various, for the old two-wheelers or the old vehicles, or for the other products, there are various distribution channels. The issue still remains, which is unaddressed, and we've tried. Everybody, I mean, the industry is tried, is of the awareness. The insured feels, the car or the bike owner, the scooter owner feels that buying insurance is expensive, and it's a myth. It's actually, I mean, today, by the way, after the new Motor Vehicle Act, not buying insurance is expensive, because you'll have to pay 2,000 rupees fine. So people need to realize this. Now look at the irony of the situation. A new two-wheeler insurance premium will cost what? 1,500 rupees, 1,600 rupees, right? 4 rupees a day, less than the cost of a cutting chai that you get in Mumbai. New two-wheelers are in any case still insured. So let's keep it aside for the moment, because when you have to buy the two-wheeler, you have to insure it. The old two-wheeler renewal will cost you what, $600, less than 2 rupees a day, right? So it's not about distribution. It's about people realizing, and no points for guessing that buying insurance is still law of land. It's still by statute, people will have to buy it. And even then, so it's not distribution. It's not the cost. It's still the awareness. It's still the sensitivity around a big financial tool. And I go out and tell everybody the strongest financial tool, the strongest financial inclusion tool available today is insurance. So people need to realize this. In my opinion, the situation is improving. Situation will improve because Supreme Court had made the at least the third party premium to be bought for 5 years. So which obviously means that with every incremental year, more and more vehicles are coming into the realm of insurance, and specifically third party, which is very, very critical. So the situation is improving, and I think it'll improve. The dealerships certainly, and I actually took note of what Mr. Guleria said, that the after sales scenario is changing, and more people are coming to the workshops, so that, I mean, to a clean and a hygienic environment for the vehicles to get repaired, and that's where our dealership friends can actually step in. I mean, it's also, I always say, it's insurance is commercial, but it also is a social obligation, right? Every third party policy which is sold, it actually gives financial protection to the unfortunate family of the people who unfortunately would see an accident. So that when more and more vehicles are coming to the workshop, dealership should step in actually to promote the renewal of these policies. So times are changing, situation is changing, and I'm really hopeful that we'll see high level of penetration in two-wheelers also now.
Yeah. So I will hold on to that thought for a while, and I would switch it, when we talk about the dealer business, let me switch back to Mr. Guleria. Mr. Guleria, one of the things that you talked about with you preparing, on different levels, I'm sure so are your peers and competitors. So looking at a marketplace in the months to come, I mean, clearly there is going to be a lot of aggression as most manufacturers try to cover as much of lost ground as possible. How do you see, the kind of level of promotion, the level of discounts, the level of sales push in the marketplace out there, and what would it mean for the dealerships going forward in terms of, the kind of effort that they need to make to really gain as much ground as possible in the first place, and also not to lose any further ground to their competitors? Mr. Guleria? I don't know if he's connected. Let me just check. The speaking team, can you just check if Mr. Guleria is connected?
Hi, Mr. Guleria is just paused. I think he must be having connection issues.
Okay. Okay. So while he's connecting back, let me come back to you, Anuj. One of the things that you talked about was the dealership part of it. And clearly, I think going forward, looking at, how to recover from the current financial mess, you talked about the promise of insurance and, pushing, and especially when there is a headroom available, pushing those sales volumes, pushing those penetration numbers for insurance up. Is that the only area, or are there other avenues available to dealerships to really make more cash, bring in more money if they were to push, the dealership, the insurance business?
No, see, I mean, clearly there are many more avenues. That obviously is the low-hanging fruit for dealership, because it's a bread and butter business. That's a business they understand. Pushing the renewals of two-wheelers is the easiest thing. However, the beauty with insurance is that the entry barriers are very, very low. So somebody said oil is the new data, or oil is the king. I would say customer data is also the equally bigger king, and dealership are sitting on customer data. And if we think the penetration of motor two-wheeler insurance is low, penetration of health insurance is even lower in the country. Penetration of personal accident products in the country is even lower. Time could not have been ripened than this to sell health insurance, because today the awareness of health insurance is so high, Mohit. I mean, you should see the number of queries and the way, even in these times, you'll be surprised when every business is degrowing, Mohit, our health business is growing.
Wow.
No points for guessing, obvious, right? So dealerships are sitting on a huge reservoir of data, huge customer data. And through the various, obviously they'll have to take the license and all, but clearly the cross-sell of health products, cross-sell of some of the other insurance products is something which the dealership should look at, can look at. And I can certainly tell you that there are cases where dealerships have actually set up large insurance, have taken regulated insurance licenses and are doing cross-sell of big products, cross-sell of health products. There are people who've set up large call centers to cross-sell products. So dealerships can certainly look. It's a product which every citizen of this country will need at some point in time. We may be grappling with low penetration levels today, right? But by the way, so was the situation when credit card companies tried to sell credit cards initially, and cell phone companies, remember the big cell phone that they were trying to sell in India. They also face the same problem. And today, do you need to work hard to sell these two products, right? And I can certainly tell you, same is the situation. Same will be the situation with an automobile insurance, and same will be the situation certainly with the health insurance. So people who are sitting on large customer data, they're actually in a very, very soft spot, and they must look at monetizing this customer data to sell other insurance products in these times.
Very interesting. So, Mr. Guleria, I was actually, posing a question just before that to you. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, sorry, I heard the question. I lost the link. So I'll come back to the same that we were talking about, the aggression post the opening up of the network.
Right.
Yeah, here, Mohit, I would like to, have a word of caution here, because, it's time that we have opened up, but let's go in a stepwise manner. We need to be aggressive, but with empathy, because it's, we are talking about something which has caused the devastation of a level which we haven't seen. It has happened after a century, and after a century, the number of the population in the world has grown, massively, and then the casualty has been large, and the economic impact has been equally of a enormous scale. So once we are approaching the market, let's be aggressive with empathy, not to become savage and, on their face to oversell the product. That's what we are telling our network, that we as a philosophy, as our own philosophy as Honda has been, that we want to be a company that society wants to exist. Right. So if there is a purpose which is very clear, and you are able to involve with the community and the society with that, keeping that purpose in mind, your business will also grow. So I through this webinar, I would like to say and compliment entire network of Honda who really participated at local level in whatever way they could contribute at their local level to help the police, the essential services staff in terms of their contribution, whether it is monetary, with their time, whether it is the food grain distribution, or whatever way they could help. They have provided that help, and this continues till date. Like we have done at the corporate level, but at a network level also, they continue to do so and provide those food packets, the water services, sanitizer, mask distribution. They are doing at a local level. So this is the time, while we are doing it for the product, we must continue to help and serve the society. So that's very important. And now once we are moving out, we already talked about something about the additional pressure on the dealership once we opened up, because there are new norms which have to be implemented, which makes you worthy to open your network, right? Because that is the guideline issued by the local administration and the government. So there is additional cost to it. But look at it from a long-term angle, that you, like I shared an example of after-sales service, which we are not knowing is going to happen. Now, almost 3 times more customers we have observed who have started coming to workshop, who has not visited our dealership, and it's a huge number.
Right.
And now my friend Anuj has talked about what is the additional business opportunity lying with the dealers to engage with this new after sales customer who are reported. There are ways to engage with them, and please do check their insurance. If they were not coming to the workshop, they never had the insurance, getting it service in a private local workshop outside, because money was maybe one of the criteria was that. Now there's an opportunity to engage with them, and since there are less number of people today coming to your dealership, how positively you engage with them and sell such products in case you have time and they are willing to listen, and while they are sitting in the customer launch. So this cross-selling possibilities to a new set of buyer. I'm not saying these were not existing earlier, but you have a new target audience coming into your showroom, so you can try to sell a buyer product or another product. Cross-selling is possible to be done. So this is the way to do it. Second, when the new models coming in, so how do we reach out to more number of people through digital channel? So digitally you can make more number of people aware, but there is also a catch in digital that you get really bored. You can keep the same leaflet in your dealership for months, but you cannot keep the same page on your Twitter or Instagram for months. Even the WhatsApp, your DP changes every day. So that's the digital content, how we need to educate our dealership on going into digital. Once we take a new medium, everybody will rush in. And once you rush in, there are bound to be some mistakes. So how not to make the mistakes which others have done or learned from the past. This is also what we are teaching, that now it's a time that we need to change from the corporate identification program, which is in the physical form at the dealership, to the digital identification program. So it's time to move from CIP to DIP. And this is where we are educating them on how to make their pages, whether it is Facebook page or their Instagram account or Twitter, to more socially engaging. Also from the customer point of view, what will be more interesting to them. And please keep on curating the content on regular basis, which is relevant to the customer, rather than only pushing your product. So this is the education which is required. We are also learning, and whatever we learned from our mistakes or we learned from the third party wisdom, we are quickly sharing and passing it on to our entire network to make them digitally aware, digitally educated, so that they can do it in a greater efficiency, not just for the sake of being digital, but digital with what kind of return on investment. So this is also equally important. Let us not forget and simply try to compare digital is cheaper in terms of expense to newspaper or a TV commercial or an outdoor campaign. So I can invest anything and do not measure my return on investment. So let us become wiser while we are taking this media mix change and doing some austerity measures. Let us not forget our core focus of conversions ultimately with whomsoever we are engaging in for our business continuity.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important and very valid point. And I think we are kind of coming to the last part of our conversation here. The areas that you talked about, whether it was about corporate social responsibility, being executed by your dealerships across the country, whether it is that, the message that, we are kind of paving our way forward, a gradual step at a time and not really rushing it, to really continuously see what's the road ahead immediately, rather than drive at a breakneck speed just because we need to cover some ground. I think these are very, very sage advices out there. I think my last question to both of you, probably before I open this up to the entire media, is basically, or entire audience, is basically looking at the current picture. Consumer is at the core of the entire proposition here. A lot of digital tools are being brought in by, and of course channels are being brought in by companies. How do you see this essential nature of a consumer buyer, a two-wheeler buyer change? Is he going to walk into the dealership to buy again, or is it something where it will be a combination of omni channels, as we call it today, multiple digital channels which enable the retail sale going forward? So in your view, to both of you, my question is basically looking at this customer behavior. How do we see, what is the expectation of that change in the customer behavior in being able to consume or being able to move forward in terms of his customer journey? Is it going to be a physical journey largely, or is it still going to be, or is it going to be an increasingly a combination of digital and physical journeys?
Okay, I'll share first, then over to Anuj. Thank you, Anuj, for your patience. Uh, I believe that there would be certain processes where it may, change to the digital part, but still that physical part will be by and large remain, because the nature of our industry is such that still the customer need to come for the physical documentation, to go to the RTO. At times there are many RTOs, while the uploading of the HSRP and other documents happen physically, but there are some places where they need to be appearing before the RTO along with the vehicle itself. The owner must be there for getting the registration process completed. So there are some infrastructure and structural issues as well to make this program of buying of a two-wheeler 100% contactless. So we haven't reached that, because administration is not our part. We are sellers, we are manufacturers, and our dealers are selling the product. But getting the vehicle registered and having, from the governance point of view, all those insurance thing and registration thing need to be done. So that still remains by and large the physical part. But we must have those tools available with us to the customers, those informed customers, or the one who do not want to visit and they want to ensure 100% contactless buying. So we must have those online payment things, online booking thing. These things are still required, or a home delivery. So such things, no dealer can afford not to have them as a list of must their available services at dealership. It's going to be a hygiene thing. Though our data says that though we have these now, more than 80% of our Honda dealers have enabled all those online delivery, online booking, or even the test ride at home, such kind of facilities. But the people who are availing these services are in a single digit as of now in terms of percentage. Earlier we never measured. So if you ask me, okay, from where to where we have come, honestly, we have not measured what percentage we were doing earlier. So now the benchmarks are available, so we'll keep on monitoring it closely. So that is one thing which is going to change. So to summarize, the search and shortlisting may still happen, on the digital media, but maybe the bargaining or, some offer, such kind of thing, I need accessory. Because even today, a Mercedes customer look for one keychain extra free. So this is the mindset of the customer in India. So, or even, we never use a diary. Who uses a diary today? But on the New Year, everybody wants a calendar and a diary. I don't know, why it still exists. But as a fact, it still exists in the market, that feeling or satisfaction that I got something free or I bargained for it still exists, for which you need to be physically present, I think. So, so that's the way I would like to say or define the new way of buying a two-wheeler in Indian scenario may happen.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Mohit, that's a very smart question actually. And between the two, we can give you the complete spectrum of how digital journeys for the customer across these two industries will pan out. So yes, I completely agree with Guleria on that. In his business, it'll be, and I really like what he said, the digital, and so his business. I completely agree. Customer will look at online. He'll try the color combinations, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, he would still want to go and sit at the motorbike and see how his posture looks like and so on and stuff. Let me give you a different perspective of what is happening in insurance industry. And specifically now, what are we doing in HDFC ERGO? And if you remember, I said last time, I do not want, today there is a ecosystem in the organization where if the customer wants, he doesn't need to see my face right from buying till he takes his claims. There's a complete digital ecosystem. We were ready, we were prepared even earlier also. The uptake was reasonably high, but I would say was still not to the liking, our liking. And what COVID has done is the awareness about our digital tools and the acceptability amongst our dealerships, amongst the workshops, and amongst the customers has gone up very high. Now, let me give you some data points. We last year issued about 10.2 million policies. Can you imagine 96% of these policies were issued in a touch-free mode? No human intervention. 10.2 million policies, 96% issued in a touch-free mode. Today, as we sit, close to about 78% of our motor claims are happening digitally. Surveys are happening digitally. So either my surveyor or the workshop, I mean, we were actually one of those first ones to go out and give workshop surveys facilities to the workshop, or the assisted video surveying. So 78% of our claims today are happening, claim surveys are happening in a digital mode. Now, what does it do to the customer? One is consistency of decision making, because the entire thing is populated on an application, IPO, Insurance Portfolio Organizer, which is the application for customer, where customer can buy, he can order, he can do endorsement, he can lodge a claim, so on and so forth. We've started now on WhatsApp, where on HDFC ERGO WhatsApp number, if you just do a hi, and it gives you an option, option number 1 for this, 2 for this, 3 for this. And in flat 3 seconds, you can actually get your policy copy on this. So customer, there is this ecosystem of customer applications which is available to take care of all customer journeys. For our surveys, the entire, what it does to the customer is, the moment there's a claim and surveyor does a digital survey, he doesn't ask for any information from the customer, because everything is pre-populated. Of course, he'll still check the driving license and the engine number and chassis number and some of those things, but everything is pre-populated. What it does to a customer further is that the turnaround times get shortened, because earlier the surveyor would physically do surveys, he'll go back home or office, prepare a file, and then submit to the insurance company, it gets approved. Today it's all digital, it's all happening on a real-time basis. And guess what, close to about 78-80% of our reimbursement claims in automobile, in motor, are actually getting paid in customer account in 24 hours, close to about 78%, because the entire journey has hastened, the entire journey has shortened to the extent that customers are loving it. And the clear indicator is NPS. The clear indicator is voice of customer, as we call. People call it grievance, we call it voice of customer. And we embarked upon this big journey 3 years back, where we said, for anything that customer calls me or reaches out to me, other than saying thank you, we will record it as a voice of customer in the organization, and we'll see, can we improve on this? And I'll give you a live example. If a customer comes on my call center and says, where is your office in Churchgate? It actually is a fuel for the organization to think that I have not populated my addresses to the customer so that they know where I am or where is the nearest garage. So this entire thing today is happening digitally for us. And the next level, and sorry if I give the long answer, but this kind of excited me. The last or something which is now in the offing is, and we've very successfully tested it for private cars, and Mr. Guleria will certainly bring it for the two-wheelers soon, is our AI-based claim settlement, artificial intelligence-based settlement. I saw so we've been working on it, and today the colleagues decided to do a demo to me, a demo to some of us on private cars. So roughly about 80 private car models for HDFC ERGO today are on artificial intelligence mode, where just the video camera or the phone camera can actually, Mohit and Mr. Guleria, can tell the damage portions. It can tell the extent of damage. It can tell you whether it's repairable or replaceable. It'll go on to the the reservoir of parts data to say that this part is going to cost this much, something which the surveyor was doing physically. And
Right.
this is the likely estimate of repair for you, which can then go to the garage. Now, this shortens the journey to the extent that there is a very high, the repair turnover rate or a claim turnover rate even for the workshop. So there is something for everyone in this entire journey.
Right.
And as I said, end of the day, what is the biggest thing it gives to the customer is the transparency and consistency of decision. Insurance claims were a big black box previously. I mean, today the customer can actually see on his, at least the HDFC ERGO customer will get to see on his mobile phone the various stages his claim is in.
Right.
So, so my perspective on digital, as I said, it's going to be a long answer, but this is a completely different spectrum of digital happening in the industry.
No, I think that's great. I mean, I think, one of the reasons why I also asked that question was because dealerships often say, do I need a showroom? Will a showroom be relevant? Okay. Will a service center be relevant? And from, the story that, the response that both of you have given, it's very clear that the customer journey will be, very interwoven between, a virtual world and a physical world. It was already happening. Yes, there could be, the shares could differ. You talked about the insurance touch points. Certain touch points could really move more digitally. Depending upon the provider, the fact that HDFC ERGO is providing those kind of solutions. But that said, as Mr. Guleria said very clearly, that look, this journey is an omni-channel journey. This is a journey which is moving continuously back and forth, and clearly we will need to manage this both from a OEM perspective as well as the dealerships, having the right tools, having the right skill sets, having the right people. Going forward. I have already a list of questions here, so I would start taking those questions for everybody here. I think the first, there are many questions, but I will just take it as they have come here. We're talking about digital. So since now, this is coming from Pranav Shah, since now digital options are explored more for inquiry and also for sales process, do you think there's any possibility on merger, amalgamation of networks, or restructuring the infrastructure to reduce overheads? I mean, any one of you can take that. Mr. Guleria?
I would like to share here that it's the beginning which has happened, but how far it is going to be across the platform. First, it is to be seen within the family, because we have a large setup of own network. How interwoven or interconnected possibilities are existing, because even today, if I will not be wrong in saying they are very advanced. Proactive dealers may be moving or trying to move faster than even us at a corporate level. Because what we are saying, we have to see the integration of the backend, the safety of the servers and everything, what we do with the corporate responsibility as well as from governance point of view. But there are many dealers who have a lot of fire inside and that adrenaline rush, and they want to move faster. There are a lot of ideas which are existing, and we are open to consider, because this is a new age we are talking about. Right. We should not be very fixed, even as a manufacturer, to one way of thinking that this is the best way possible. But yes, we need to be more open with our business partners and across all the stakeholders, whether they are retail finance partner or the insurance partners, and then find the best possible solution, keeping the fairness, impartiality and transparency as a one. Because I always say fit approach. Fair, impartial, and transparent. So that's the way we can interwoven anything. Anything is possible.
Interesting. There's a aligned question here coming from Hari Prasad Ribala. He's basically saying, what role does digital can play in after sales? I mean, we talked about a lot of sales part, having a website and all. From an after sales perspective, how can, what is the role that digital technologies can play there?
I think it's very unfortunate that if we keep our thought limited, that it is only possible in the sales and not in the after sales area. The very fact that this question has come, that has opened the mind in the ways that there is a lot of possibility in after sales area as well, right from the vehicle history and the tips of, the reminder of the service or whether it is insurance, and to see the regular maintenance. Even on the vehicle, there is a lot of informatics now getting available on the digital meter that, your service is due at so and so kilometers. So
Right.
this is also indirect way of digitally informing the owner about the regular maintenance they are expected to do. But in future, yes, before going to the workshop itself, if they are regularly taking a service from a particular network, like all our dealers, all our services which are done at our network, authorized network, every dealer across any part in the country can see the vehicle history, whether it has been regularly maintained, getting services, authorized network. So all those things are already known. So customer, even before going, if they can give only the vehicle history and the number digitally, we can know the history and what kind of work they want to get it done. The estimate can go in advance, so the customer comes prepared. That many times you see a situation where the customer said, I have not come prepared with this kind of expense. It becomes a shock, or it becomes very sudden to them. So there are possibilities and the ways to advise the customer well in advance, where they can just log in, see the history in terms of number of kilometers, what they're done based on their model, maintenance costs, and tips as well in advance.
Great. Another question coming, I think probably, this one, Anuj, for you. This is from Bhavya Rakra. What kind of impact can we expect from August when IRDAI withdraws long-term premiums on the two-wheeler cost?
Sure. So this is a very, so obviously it says that Bhavya has been keeping an eye on what's happening in the industry, because this is last evening circular and question has been asked. So there is, I think what needs to very clearly be understood is that the 5-year policies have not been withdrawn by the regulator. What has been withdrawn is a 5-year, 5+. So as per initially we had, just to simplify it, we had two versions. One was a 1-year own damage and 5-year third party. 5-year third party is still mandatory to be bought, because that's a Supreme Court ruling. The other format was 5-year own damage and a 5-year third party. What IRDA has withdrawn is from August, or is going to withdraw from August, is the second part, which is the package policy. So customer now has an option to buy 1-year OD and a 5-year TP. 5-year TP has to be bought, or an option to buy a 5-year OD or a 5-year TP. So when we say the 5-year package has been withdrawn, it's just the own damage of 5-year which has been withdrawn. Now, what will be the impact of this? I would say, I spoke of the low insurance, low penetration in two-wheelers. So from that point of view, we see, yes, it could possibly have an impact on those own damages, not the own damage policies not coming up for renewal. But again, from a inclusion tool, from a financial inclusion tool perspective, the third party policies are still there. What it means is that our dealerships, our MISPs, the insurance companies will have to work hard to not let the own damage renewals go down. We will have to ensure that the customer still continues to renew his or her own damage policies. So that's what will happen, that customer will have to come up for renewing the policies every year only for the own damage part.
Great. There is a question from Samir here. This is regarding used two-wheeler transactions. In the previous webinar, we did talk a lot about used vehicles, but we did not touch upon it today. Do you see increase in used two-wheeler transactions as a result of people shunning public transport? I mean, and probably we can even look at from a broader perspective. Will two-wheeler, penetration actually we will see tailwinds because of people shunning shunning public transport? Mr. Guleria, maybe you can take that first.
Well, Mohit, one thing, if you try to compare the ecosystem of two-wheeler versus four-wheeler business and the automobile business, automobile business has been into the pre-owned business for long time, almost I would say 2 decades kind of, where it has become organized. While two-wheeler business took a long time to become organized. By far, I'm happy to share that as far as Honda is concerned, that we took this initiative almost 8 to 10 years back, and now we have 275 plus outlets where we are dealing with the pre-owned vehicles, where we sell pre-owned Honda two-wheelers and buy any other make two-wheeler in terms of exchange. And all those pre-owned are going through a comprehensive list of checklists in terms of the maintenance, parts replacement. We give the free services as well as a warranty on these pre-owned vehicles. We, over the years, we have seen that the many vehicles which are sold as pre-owned after refurbishing at our respective dealership who are doing it, we have named this under umbrella of best deals, where the pre-owned Honda two-wheelers are sold. And they are dealers who are making good money. If anything, I would say a handsome amount on these pre-owned vehicles. And from the customer's standpoint, they also gain the assurance of getting a warranty and getting the free service, as well as that they are very convenient, and in terms of that peace of mind that the vehicle transfer has happened in the right way, and they are nothing hanky-panky in terms of the documentation of the pre-owned vehicle which they are buying, because this is very much there in the unorganized sector, because sometimes it is accident vehicle, police case vehicle being sold to the customer who goes in such kind of markets. But here we ensure that it is properly documented, transfer happens in the name of the new owner, as well as the parts have been taken care by Honda engineers through that checklist, all trained staff. So, and this business over the years, we have also seen that annual number are picking up year on year. And in once this BS4, BS6 transition has also happened, you rightly mentioned more number of people may try to avoid the public transport and look forward to their individual personal mobility. And the most affordable mobility for them is in form of a two-wheeler available today. So we expect some uptake even in the pre-owned two-wheeler. And from our partners' point of view, the third which I missed out was our retail finance partners. I'm happy to share that some of the retail finance partners have come forward and started providing finance, retail finance, even on the pre-owned vehicle. So that's a very positive enabler for making buying more convenient and affordable for the pre-owned buyers as well.
Great. I will touch upon three questions here, Mr. Guleria, and they are coming because the reason why I'm just taking that up, because there is a lot of concern in the community, dealer fraternity especially. This is coming from three gentlemen. I'll just quickly name them out. Mithul Kotak, due to COVID, dealer volumes will decrease. So many dealers will face financial issues. So how will they survive according to you? A similar question coming up from Jayesh Vadodria. Is boom coming back in two-wheelers during Navratri Diwali like previous year? And a third one coming in from Mr. Srinath Balasubramanian. Your comments on FADA request for increasing dealer margins at par with international levels. So a lot to do with financial viability. Is boom time coming? I mean, what is the expectation? How can dealers, survive? Of course, we talked about some of those areas, some of the low-hanging fruits. Anuj also talked about it. Maybe you can just briefly address that, because I think I'll just take one more question after that and we'll have to close. It's really coming to the end of the hour now.
Okay, I will try to answer. It's a serious subject, but in a lighter note only, because I was reading somewhere, and this gentleman written very nicely about related to the stock market. So he talked about, we all know about bear and bull.
Right.
But he mentioned the third thing, monk. So bear, bull, and monk. So this is the time, the COVID time is such that we need to become for some time as a monk. Survival is the first thing. Let's not think and start running about that thrive thing today. If you take the first three steps, definitely thrive is going to be there. First is survive, revive, strive. We all need to do in one go, in a stepwise manner. And let's not talk about thriving. If we are not surviving, there is no question of thriving. So please do sit with your team, all your employees and stakeholders, with your business partners also, whosoever is your principal, and then work out a long-term business plan where we need to cut costs. This is the time we really need to cut costs. We have some extra flab, which was not known, and thanks to the stimulus in form of COVID, that it has taught us, everybody, that you were carrying that extra flab. Right. While we are taking a lot of kadas, that warm water with lot of spices, But I think the similar kind of spices we need to drink in our business also, and include in our business model, and
Right.
then relook, remake entire business plan to tackle and challenge the new normal. So we need to work a lot on this, definitely.
Great. I think I'll
But
just
as far
take
as
one last.
business is
Sorry.
concerned,
Sorry. Yeah.
don't
Please.
worry. It is
Yeah.
going to be a long-term business, and it is a lot of potential in two-wheelers. Thank you.
Okay, great. That's, I think, you know, a lot of confidence. I think we are more or less done. I think I'll just take one last question because there are too many people asking this kind of a question, which is basically about digital marketing. I will, maybe both of you can quickly summarize that because that was one of the core topics, core focuses of our webinar. The question is coming from Kapil. He's talking about dealers are a bit concerned on investment cost on digital marketing. They think digital ads are expensive. You know, is there an alternate vision in terms of digital marketings from your side? There's another question from Shahrukh Mupan. What impact can give digital marketing over physical marketing, like what we were regularly doing, like demos, print ads, and other in the long run? And a third one is coming in from Saurabh Jain, which is basically, does HMSI plan to come up with a mobile app for the coming future, you know, with analytics and other important details available to the dealer principal? So maybe very briefly, if you could just summarize, because I know that we've exceeded, if you could just give an overall picture to these three digital related questions.
Yeah, though the Mohit questions are more from maybe the auto fraternity, but the subject is very, very close to Anuj's heart. That's what he mentioned. So
right.
I will take less time. I'll give it to him.
Sure.
But here I only want to say, they are not replacing each other. Let us not mix that they are going to replace. They are going to complement each other. Digital is going to complement your all physical activities and your newspaper or your outdoor and efforts at the local level. But the only thing is, please be more prudent in getting the right partner selection, because right now it is demand versus supply. All the digital creative people, so-called available in the market, they know there's a lot of demand, and they will keep on coming with lot of figures and the technology, their technological jargon in terms of terminologies, which you will never understand. So many days hits and blah, blah, blah. And you get confused and you are willing to pay them while it is not helping you in business. That's why you need to get expert on your board, a digital marketing person in your own organization. That's a new position in the organization which will be there, who understand the nitty-gritty of these terminologies, and he can guide you in a better way. Over to Anuj.
Yeah.
No, I think Guleria-san has beautifully, you know, kind of summed it up that the two are not replaced, the two are not substitute to each other, you know, one. And second, coming in from dealership's point of view, and I assume somebody, dealership is talking of the localized kind of campaigns or localized events. And you see, I mean, end of the day, everybody has to see what gives the maximum buck for the investment, right? The digital advertisements, SEO, SEM spends could be prohibitive for large organizations, but for a dealership, and dealership doesn't necessarily mean always that you have to be first in the Google search. Sending a SMS is also digital. Sending a beautifully crafted WhatsApp message with the banner and the publications that you would have otherwise do in a physical format is far more economical. Has a very, very wider reach. You know, putting a big hoarding in a city, XYZ or Honda motorcycle is, in my opinion, expensive than sending a WhatsApp, beautifully crafted WhatsApp banner to say thousands of people in your city. So please understand what is digital. And as Mr. Guleria very rightly said, you know, this conversion, that conversion, some of these jargons you don't need to get into. You have to, in my opinion, from your perspective, Facebook, WhatsApp, SMS, make maximum use of these tools, and these tools are not very expensive. And end of the day, I would conclude with what Mr. Guleria started off answering this question, is that the two are not mutually exclusive. Two are not replacement for each other. But end of the day, I mean, we have to see what, and you know, don't run after digital because the world outside is talking of digital. You see what works for you in your community, in your city, in your area. And I think that's where we have to go after.
I think those are very, very sage words and very sage advice, Anuj. And frankly speaking, I personally feel very enriched over the last, 45 minutes, 1 hour actually, that we have been talking. And I think for everybody on the webinar, I'm sure they are taking away a lot of thought, a lot of guidance, a lot of inputs, in terms of looking at business. Yes, of course we are, staring down right now, and we are looking at the sales volume, evaporating, frankly speaking. And then, you start to question the basic tenets of the business. I mean, do I need to be in business? Do I need to be doing this business? From what both of you have clearly said, there is clearly, there's clearly, a silver lining that is there out there. There is a lot of headroom for growth, whether you take the two-wheeler industry or whether you take the insurance industry. There is significant amount of, challenge, of course, at this point of time, but it is, of course, our ingenuity, our innovativeness, really how we harness this, how we use the tools prudently. I think the word that Mr. Guleria used, prudently, and the point that you said, Anuj, in terms of, it's not that it is a panacea for everything. You need to see what works for you in the environment in which you are. I thank both of you for this wonderful session. I would like to close it. I would hand it back to the speaking team to conclude the session.
Thank you, Mohit.
Mohit, thank you, Anuj, and thank you, Mr. Guleria. From the earnings for a free diary, calendar, and a keychain to 86% touch-free policies. Thank you. What a wonderful conversation, and thanks once again for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one, which we'll be back very soon with. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.